National Lame Duck Day and National Frozen Milk Day.
Wow.
The meeting is now called to order. Will you please stand for the flag salute? Mr. Pachicha, would you please lead the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is roll call.
DeBono,
Here.
Shu,
Here.
Thurman,
Here.
Trahell,
Here.
Ogletree,
Yes, here.
Williamson,
Here.
Griego.
Here. Item number 2, approval of the agenda.
Mayor Griego, we are requesting on consent calendar that we remove the Fox Theater change orders. We did receive some change orders, however, we're sorting out with the contractor which ones they actually want approved. So we would request that the council remove that item for tonight.
Okay, council. Strike item 5K from the agenda.
I would make a motion to accept the agenda with one exception of item 5K.
We're not here for yet. We're not at the consent agenda yet.
My apologies.
Oh, but we're approving the agenda,
We're
so,
approving the agenda.
Oh, okay.
so yes, sorry, it's a change to the overall
Okay.
agenda.
Then he has a motion on the floor.
Yes. Second?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Trahell,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
DeBono.
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item number 3, policy items and staff reports. Mr. Munger,
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Downs.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Item number 4, petitions and communications, all are written. Under item 4 is item 4A, update from the Trinidad and Los Animas County Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Howell, I assume that's you, sir.
That is. Good to see you there.
Same
Good
here.
to see you back. Council member staffs and all, thanks for the opportunity to provide an update, which we'd like to do quarterly for the Trinidad and Los Animas County Chamber. I can happily report that the chamber has come out of its crisis and will not be dissolved. That was the case about 6 months ago. We have all our debts and bills paid to date. This was a combined effort by a lot of people who believe an active, focused, vibrant Chamber of Commerce is needed and worth investing in. We sadly still are without an executive director, but believe we'll be able to offer a part-time position that we can afford. We would like our previous executive director to fill that position, and she is considering it. Going from full-time to part-time is really a consideration for her and her family. We just, like you, we need to be fiscally responsible with our members' money, and that creates hard choices. Other good news that we've done during our reboot, we've called this kind of a reboot to get a new operating system showing up on the screen. We have a new website that uses current technology. It's mobile friendly and offers so much more value to our members in promoting their businesses and organizations than previous. Enhanced profiles, event, job, and commercial real estate listings, classified ads, coupons, and some new products. So even our smallest of business owners can do that. We offer free memberships now to any business, any new business with a Trinidad or Los Animas County license for their first year. That's the time they need us most, and having to spend $200 for that period of time to get started is just a hard burden for them. We organized a holiday food drive in the fall. We partnered with Elaine and Marty of the EM Food Pantry. The one great thing about partnering with them is they take the food pantry to the county where people have a hard time getting into town. And it also supplemented the in-town food pantry as well. We collected over 24 boxes of food, not little boxes, good-sized boxes of food. We intend to do this in the spring. Food insecurity is a real thing in our service area. We've organized 2 downtown sidewalk, gutter, and alley cleanups, and are now trying to do this at the same time that PWP, Watershed Partnership, river cleanup on the river. So the same time they do theirs, we want to do ours in downtown to make sure our city presents the clean feel residents and visitors expect. We received a grant from the Lodging Tax Advisory Board and City Council to use during the slow season when there was concern in the business community of recent closures. We pay local musicians to play in local venues via the homegrown music series, total of 4 events. We provide music and participate in hotels on Friday night. So Friday night from 4 to 6, we have a pianist, a saxophone player, and a guitarist who plays in hotels. And during that 4 to 6, when people are trying to figure out what to do, either that night or the next day, they're giving out our programs to folks. And Cy Michael said it the first time we did this, that she could attribute 10 night stays in the 2 hotels that she knows of. So doing something local actually brings people in. We provide, and so they handle those pro fairs. What we're trying to do is set it up to where we drive downtown foot traffic. When people are downtown and they listen to music at Moose's, and then there's something going on at the well, and then maybe something at the marketplace, they go by our shops. They stop in our shops. Maybe they get pizza, maybe they get a hot dog, maybe they get something else when they're there. It's been well received by businesses, locals, and visitors alike. It's helped increase music throughout the month, and we'd love to grow it over the summer if possible. The Chamber intends to help our service area become known for our incredible live music scene. The vision is that 90 minutes away, a drive. So if you're in Las Vegas, New Mexico on a Wednesday or Thursday and you're asking your friends, Les, what's there to do this weekend? Les says, there's nothing in Las Vegas, let's go to Trinidad. They've got this great music scene and there's always something happening there.
That's what I say.
That's exactly. And the reason is, we are a cool town. People go to cool towns. You don't have to have big events sometimes. You just have to do what you do and do it well. The cool thing about this is it doesn't require the city to close roads, to provide special use permits, or any other paperwork. It's local creative talent and local businesses working together to address a shared need and opportunity. For those asking how lodging taxes paid by visitors can benefit locals and their community, this is an example of that, and we appreciate the LTAB and the city for supporting this successful experiment. We've had more ribbon cuttings in the last 6 months than in a very long time. Businesses that swore off the chamber are becoming members. Our ambassador team is growing with very motivated young business leaders and seasoned retired professionals. We're able to seek 3 new additions to our board this week, and you're going to be impressed by who has stepped forward to serve as well as those board members that helped with the reboot. We have a luncheon coming up in March, and we'll be providing a free 14 assessment blood test to all attending members. This is a value at a clinic of over $100, and it's free to our members. And if successful, we'd like to take that out into the county for those members, and if possible, expand it to employees, and we've already worked that out to be $10 for staff and employees of our business members. The Chamber takes the health of our members seriously, and this is the first rollout to show that. As I shared with many of you, it was vital in the beginning. It was vital for us to rebuild relationships across the Tri-Peak region. We've done exactly that and look forward to sharing some of the fruit of these collaborations soon. Collaborations we already have with you and many other folks. Shout out to the city manager for being very accessible and providing great counsel to us as we were moving forward.
1 minute, sir. I'm sorry.
And now on the agenda, making this report, it's not that, correct?
That is correct, Les. This is
Okay,
an actual
I'm
agenda
sorry.
item.
I'm sorry. I thought
That's
it was
why
a just-
not a problem.
Sorry, Pat.
But here's here's the thing,
Sorry.
it's a tribute to
Right.
try and
Yeah.
respect your time. I'm gonna bring this home right now.
Sorry.
I can report that the future of the Trinidad Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce will extend past our 143rd year. How cool is that? Anybody that was anybody in Trinidad, when you look at the buildings and the businesses and things that you loved and everybody loved, they will remember this Chamber of Commerce. It's important that it stays and grows. The future, although very challenging, has a nice bright glow to it now. If you have any questions of me, I remain open, accessible, and available to each of you, as do our board members. And thank you for the time. It was nice to be able to come here after the last 5 or 6 months and say, we're doing okay. You know, and thanks for your support.
Thank you.
Sign-in sheet, one speaker would like to speak, Dan Rossetti. Mr. Rossetti, please remember that you have 5 minutes and Mr. Jones will give you the 1 minute warning.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, council, I'm here this evening. A lot of questions come up with the city throughout the years, I should say, but sometimes they never get answered, so I promise the public, whether I win or lose, I'm here for them. I'm gonna ask these questions. First question I have is Noah's Ark. Mid-November, money was given from the city to Noah's Ark till the end of the year. Question was, how much money did they use, and unfunded money did they give it back to the city, and what did they use it on? And this question was given to you all, or the city manager, I thought of this. But if the cities said, as soon as they figured out a plan, they let the citizens know. I know the city hired 4 employees, so if the city's taking it over, are they taking it over? That's gonna be over $500,000 a year, which was not budgeted. Where's that money gonna come from? Just some questions. Second question is potholes, as you know, with the freeze and thaw, and you see them out there, they're starting to appear. Mr. Terrell, you weren't part of this about 1.5 years ago. At a work session, I was brought in with Public Works Director. We talked about potholes. They really didn't like my answer on potholes at the throw and go method. Also, I brought up, we hadn't had any paving in 11 years. At that time, the mayor, Mr. Rico, asked the Public Works Director to come up with a paving plan and bring it to council. As far as I know, that never happened last year. So now we're 12 years without any paving. Just holding people accountable for their jobs. Next, Central Park, you know I talked on that when it started. They have 4 weeks to finish that job. I don't know if anybody's been over there. They better get going. And I just don't know, I'd like to see if it's not that proper action is taken by the city on what's going on. Next question is the vacant seat. I came to that meeting. It was great, 4.5-hour meeting. Anyway, at that meeting it was told that the public could see how council voted, and who they voted for. When and where can somebody see that? That's the question to ask. Then also, this just came up, meetings are supposed to have a 24-hour notice. That meeting, the time was changed 3 different times in one day. So is that a legal meeting or not? It went from 3 o'clock to 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning, all in the same, within that 24 hours. Not that it's gonna make a difference, it doesn't really matter what it is what it is, but we should stick by the rules if we're gonna do it. And that's all I have to say. And I did meet with the city manager before this, gave him my questions, a couple of them were not on there. And I did email all the council, so that you have answers for the people, hopefully this evening. Thank you.
Item number 5, consent agenda approval. Does anybody have any changes they want to make to the consent agenda?
I'd make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as previously altered.
We have one more. Okay, all right.
Second.
Call the vote.
Williamson,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Truhill,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Okay, got sidetracked. I'm gonna read the consent agenda items. Item 5A, approval of the special minutes of January 29th, 2024, and regular meeting minutes of January 16th, 2024. Reappointment of Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Williamson to the South Central Council of Governments Board member and to the South Central Regional Planning Commission, the TPR. Item C, appointment of Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Williamson as the city's military liaison. D, appointment of Mayor Karen Griego as liaison to the Lodging Tax Advisory Board and council member Aaron Ogletree as alternate. Appointment of council member Manuel Trujillo as liaison to the Corazon de Trinidad Historic Main Street Board and to SCID. Appointment of council members Naaman Thurman and Eli DeBono as liaisons to Action 22. G, appointment of council member Aaron Ogletree as alternative liaison to the Trinidad Golf Association. Reappointment of Luis Lopez II to the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Mr. Lopez is on virtually. Reappointment of Joyce Miller to the Arts and Cultural Advisory Commission. Ratifying the police contract union effective January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026. Approval of bills to the tune of $2,968,925.81. Approval of payroll January 20th, 2024 through February 2nd, 2024 for $463,527.17. I did that backwards, I apologize. Item 6, public hearings, there are none. Item 7, unfinished business, there is none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. Item 8A, consideration of appointments to the Park and Recreation Advisory Committee. There are 2 vacancies and we have 3 people that applied. So I'm leaving it to council's discretion to see how you would like to nominate 2, nominate 1 piece.
Mayor, are you
Oh, I'm open.
Mayor, I would like to nominate Mr. Martin Bachicha.
Is there a second?
A second. Second.
Call the vote, please.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bachicha, for putting in your name. So we have to fill the second. Does anybody want to nominate the second person for that board? Let's see, we have Amanda Lowder and Justine Hastings. Neither one of those ladies are here tonight. Oh, there you are. How could I miss you? Got right. I'm sorry. Okay, second nomination for the second vacancy. I can't nominate him. Yeah. Frank Shu nominates Justine Hastings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Hastings. Item II, Corazon de Trinidad Historic Main Street Board, there's 2 vacancies and there's 2 people applying. I would like to ask for a motion to accept the resumes and the applications of Shannon Jackson and Eleanor Rail. Do I have a motion?
Or so moved.
Second.
Call the vote. I call.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Rail, and thank you, Mr. Jackson, appreciate it. Item C, consideration of an agreement between the city and the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services, also known as the NRCS. Who will present that? Mr. Just?
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This is a project on the Fisher's Peak Carbon Rod Dam. It was a dam that was built by the NRCS back in, I think, 1960, and it now sees, it needs upgrades because it's that many years old. Basically, the NRCS is paying for the design. I think we have, here we don't.
Who are you looking for, Bob?
Janet Jerkson or Ricky Anderford?
They're both on.
Okay, thank you. From Jones to Mill, they're the consultant that's been doing the design. And anyway, NRCS is paying, if you look at the table, they're paying 100% of the design cost is borne by the NRCS. So anyway, our portion, when we get to the The estimated construction cost is gonna be $3,769,000. Our portion of that is $1,319,200. The NRCS is gonna pick up to $2,449,900. We have asked that, our portion be phased. That way we don't have to come up with $1,319,000, that we do the main, which is probably the outlet pipe. And then we can continue to do the other upgrades as they follow. So, anyway, this agreement is between the city of Trinidad and NRCS. That's what, basically, we're looking for a signature. So, questions?
Start on the right.
Mr. Testa, our council packet lists our share at $1,324,200. Did we get a reduction somehow of $1,319,000?
And that's correct. I'm sorry, I needed to come down to the next line, which has the, there was additional $10,000 that, for federal, state, and local permits and relocation beyond required. Descent, safe, and sanit, it's an additional $5,000, not 10, sorry, which brings it to the $1,324,200.
And I noticed that it says source of funds is general fund or potential grants. What sort of potential grants would you be looking at to do that?
Anything that's available out there.
So there are potential grants
There
that
is.
may exist.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, we'll search to see what kind of grants we can find. Certainly, some of our DOLA grants would apply in this. I would imagine there's some federal grant funding, and then certainly our partners with the USDA, we'll look to them to see if there's any financial opportunities as well.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Robbie, is there a time frame on this?
They're looking at having design completion within a year, so that gives us a time to acquire funds. So they gotta complete the design, which is not done. So, and then like I said, once the design is done, we don't have to jump into and do the whole rehab process. We asked that it be phased, so that, and I don't know what that first phase is gonna be, but it's not gonna be the whole 1.3 mil, so.
Will they be working with any other subcontractors or?
Well, it'll go out to bid is what it'll do, so I guess I don't understand your question as far as subcontractors. This is the design only right
Just the
now.
design?
That's a construction cost, the $1,300,000.
Mayor, Council, if I may, so in talking with our friends at the USDA, what they would like to do really on our behalf is do the complete design for the entire rehabilitation of the dam. Obviously, it's a very expensive project. There are some things that are crucial right now, including the pipe that goes underneath for water access. That's what we want to focus on, fixing the key infrastructure issues. But it's a very positive thing that at no cost to the city, we're getting the full design for the rehabilitation. So to Bob's point, we will phase the project. So at this point, we're just looking at design, but once that gets completed, then we can look at parting it out into individual bids and seeing what we can afford to work towards a goal of rehabilitating the whole dam, if that helps.
That helps.
Is this pretty much a rebuild on the dam?
It's not a complete rebuild, but it's a fairly extensive project. I know Ricky could probably speak more to it because he's with the design firm if you have any questions. But
Mayor and Councilmember Shu, I think the way we look at it as it's a rehabilitation is the word I would use. So essentially, we are going in and fixing and improving everything, but anything that's there that's functional that we can preserve and not have to spend money to replace, we will certainly be mindful of that. So we're not gonna rip out the dam and build a brand new one. We're just gonna work systematically to update the existing facility.
This hasn't been checked in how many years?
well, it gets checked by the state
that's what
dam
I'm
engineer.
saying.
But it's finally come to a point that it finally needs major reconstruction.
and Mayor Council again, and I'll let Bob speak about this a little bit, but I think for the public's benefit, it's really important to note that we don't feel like there's an imminent danger as it exists now. This is just for preventing future. Now, I guess we could be in some weird thing like Los Angeles' experience where we have a river in the sky and a 500-year flood. We're not expecting that, so for now, we're very confident that there's no danger to our community, but in partnering with the USDA, we just want to get out ahead of any major issues in the future.
I just had a question, because I'm not too familiar with this, but are we already taking care of the operation and maintenance on it? Because it's saying here the sponsors, which we would be the sponsors. So would we be incurring that as something new, as operation and maintenance, or can I get some clarification?
We've always done the maintenance on it. Like I
Okay.
said, the state dam engineer, Mark Perry, comes down and identifies work to be done, removal of growth, trees, different things that are on it. We continue to do that. We do the same on FPC-1, which is the dam over on the other, below, the one that runs through the bank here. And it's up right below the subdivision, the reserve at Fisher's Peak. Is how we access that, or you can access it from off of Garfield as well.
Okay. Thank you, I don't have any other.
I do have a question.
Bob, when you said earlier that the timeline is basically a year, is that during that year to, find the, roughly 1.3 million? Or is that when the work will start and then we need to start coming up with the?
That's when the design will be completed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
just the design timeline, sorry.
But I assume within that year, we'll probably have it phased out, and then we'll determine what the first phase cost will be, which
Okay.
I assume will be some portion thereof.
And so, it's speculation, but, staff's, speculation, I mean, is there fair chances of, providing a major part of this through grants or some sort of alternate funding source?
That's our hope, we wanna find, like Steve said, a DOLA grant or something that's out there.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, the good news is, it might take a year to do the design, but again, we will focus on anything that's an immediate danger, but after we have the design, that's great, because even if it takes us 5 years to find funding for the complete rehabilitation, we have that time. So it's not like as soon as the design gets done, then we immediately need to come up with $1 million+ to fix it. So it's really a very positive thing that we're getting the design done at this point, and then that gives us what we need to bid it out to do repairs as funding becomes available. Hopefully through grants, as Bob says, that would be the intent.
I really feel like this is one of those situations that it's not negotiable. We need to do this work. So I appreciate the work you've been doing with NRCS, and I really just, obviously we all feel the same way. We need to go out there and find every free dollar there is. So we'll start looking for free dollars. We'll give you permission to do that.
So if I heard you correctly, USDA also provides grant funds for this, or no? Are there federal funds in addition to state funds for this?
Mayor, Council, I would imagine there are. We haven't begun the process of looking for those opportunities quite yet. But as we go through the design, we'll work with USDA and NRCS and make sure that they're helping us find those funding opportunities.
All right. Any other questions, comments? May I have a motion for consideration of agreement between the city and NRCS for the Carbon Arroyo Dam?
So moved.
Second? Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Just. Item 8D, consideration of Lenslock contract renewal. Lenslock is the company that we contract with for body cams for the police department.
And Mayor, Council, I'm happy to speak to this. It's the same company that's been doing our body cam services. We feel very confident in the pricing. It really hasn't changed. So this is just an extension of the services that they're already doing. It would be way more expensive, of course, if we were to terminate their contract and go with a different vendor. But body cams are required under our SOPs. It is something that the state requires as well as part of our accreditation. So it's a very important contract that we approve. It comes out to be about $27,000 a year. And that's for use of the system, to upload body cam video. There's redaction tools that are included. And it's just very important that we continue to provide our officers technology that allows them to document what they're doing. And I can certainly answer any questions specific about the contract as well.
Go ahead.
Does it include updates?
Yes, it very much does, absolutely.
Any updated hardware or just updated?
There is no hardware, it's all a cloud-based system, so there's no, well, the cameras themselves, of course, are the hardware. But they have a lifespan that we plan for, and we've replaced them as through attrition as necessary. So that gets updated routinely as they go out of their service life.
Thank you.
Any other questions? On this side? I just have a question, just an FYI question. So what, is there some guarantee from Lancelot that, what would happen if we needed a recording and they weren't able to provide? Is there any kind of insurance, or how do they remedy that?
That's a really good question. So essentially in the contract, they are required to preserve records. They're not their records, they are ours. And that is expressed in the contract that we retain ownership of all of those. So for example, if there was a CORA request and it was something that was held on their system, Les can correct me if I'm wrong, but they would be the responsible party to provide that, probably to us, to provide to the public. Sorry, not CORA, TCC-RM. But yeah, no, there are protections in the contract to ensure that. That would be a violation of the contract if they had missing data or didn't provide something upon our request. So we would monitor that and then take action as necessary if that did happen. But I will say, all the videos, they're actually stored on a digital media, I suppose we would call it, on the actual devices themselves, and then they're uploaded to the system from there. So we should have a local copy as well on a backup version. So it really should never get to this situation where we have an issue with lost data. But if that did happen, of course, there'd be penalties to the contractor if it was their fault, and we would work through that matter.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the Lancelot contract renewal.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
DeBona.
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item AG, consideration of bid results for project number 14-2023 Trinidad Pickleball Court construction. I would imagine this is Mr. Chatter.
Actually, I'm gonna defer to Bob, he,
Okay.
has the report.
Mayor, Council, I've asked Mr. Just to present to you. He's reviewed the geotechnical report that you all asked us to pursue, and I'd like for him to, from his engineering background, talk to you about the results that we found. Thanks for being put on the spot.
So, Mr. Ruhr asked me if we would send out a proposal for geotechnical services. We basically got one firm, Kumar and Associates, that responded back. They came down, analyzed, did a core drill, actually a couple core drills on the existing tennis ball courts. It's on the lower section. And it actually, the report came back really positive. They recommend that the existing asphalt surface be removed and then scarify and recompact the subgrade that's underneath it. And we could go in with a concrete surface for the pickleball courts. In short, it's pretty straightforward. I think they drilled 25 feet. They didn't find groundwater. That was a question or suspicion that there might be groundwater, but they didn't find any at that location. So I'm open to questions on it.
Mr. Williamson, we'll start with you.
So specific to the geotech or to the whole?
Well, just to the question of the bid for the pickleball court, correct?
Now, I'm not familiar with the bids, that's, Mr. Chatterley did those,
Okay.
I procured
Do you
the,
have any-
I procured the SOLS report from Mr. Chatterley.
You're
Mr.
dou-
Chadley, would you mind coming up just in case there's questions?
You're double teaming us tonight, okay?
Certainly you all can talk about the geotech or the entire project,
Okay.
anything you have questions.
Either or, the geotech or the actual pickleball courts.
Well, first off, thank you for getting that done. I think it's really important. I'm sure you agree as a civil engineer that'll be important to the project if it goes forward. This has been for me really a quandary. All of my questions prior were definitely sincere about the concern for the condition of the the ground and the court. But as I've gone along and spoken to some people, I really, well, I have no doubt it's a really beneficial project, and if we could somehow have pickleball courts overnight, outdoor pickleball courts overnight, I'm sure they'd be getting extensive use on the next warm day. I think we really need to do it. It's just, when we enter into an MOU with another agency, even one as, long-standing as the school district, I think we're really putting ourselves at a disadvantage. I mean, when you look at it from the general public, I'm not talking about local to Trinidad, but the general public, I think it's very odd to have a pickleball court at the high school. That's my opinion. In the summer, it's super hot. I don't know a better way to say it there, but it's institutional. And I don't think it's that inviting. I mean, I think we could find such a better place, and even if we had to have smaller pickleball courts for the same amount of money, I would much rather see us do that. And I feel bad saying that. I know a lot of work is gone into this, but that's where I see. I mean, the total cost. I didn't add it up. I know it's changed a bit, but I mean we're above 300,000, right?
Approximately about that much.
Yeah. It seems like we could get even smaller, something that maybe like, I think it'd be amazing to put it at the golf course, or potentially, I don't know what the name of the area, and this actually isn't my idea, I'll let someone else own this idea if they wish, but someone else had mentioned potentially the little basketball court by where the old Noah's Ark was. I mean, we have so many other options that would seem really appealing to the public. It's just so much money to spend to put on someone else's property, not have bathrooms. The parking is great, but I don't think it lends itself well to a public expenditure of that much money. That's my opinion.
Mr. Thurman?
Yeah, I'm not that agree with Aaron on that. The schools are odd, and I'm pro pickleball court, like it's cool going out, but to have it at the school is just an odd place to have it when you're mixing children with the public. Does that make sense to anybody? Is that just me? It just seems a little working in reverse. You kind of want it in a sports class or a place where you have sports, like golf course would be awesome. To have pickleball courts and bocce ball courts up there. But we'll get to that point when we figure it out. I'd like to see what these bids look
like. That wasn't on the phone. So I agree with the listening. Ben, thank you. I'm a little hoarse, I apologize.
That's all right, so
I have a lot of questions about this. I really think it's a great idea. I think it's cool to bring these in. But the school location was not my fondest place. I'm not fond of it. A lot of my people that come through someone that I've spoken with, asked their opinions on it. They have a high concern with it there as well. Some of the feedback I did get was there's no amenities, there's no facilities. You're gonna have to run across the street to go use the restroom. As the school, who's gonna maintain these year round? It becomes a seasonal sport versus what we're having now at the community center. They're able to use it now in the winter, which is great, and they're enjoying it in there. So I would love to see something along that line, that we can use it all the time and benefit a broader scope of the community. Right now, I'm just not seeing it. There is a location down by the old Noah's Ark that apparently they are playing pickleball down there already. I did have someone, they ride their bike up and down the river walk, they enjoy that. And so that we do have citizens down there already utilizing that area, which I would love to see that revitalized. I don't know if that's part of that other plan. But that would be kind of a neat thing if maybe we could look towards that area. We have a building there, it's got amenities, it's got the facilities right there. Maybe that's a potential to a couple tetherball things up to, is what I was told. I don't know, I haven't heard about tetherball in about 20 years, but they brought it up, so. So as of right now, I just, the expenditure just doesn't feel right, and I apologize. Sorry.
You have no comments? Mr. Bueno?
Well, the exercise element is good in theory. I think if we could have hired a 90-year-old water witcher, it would have saved us a lot of money. Because the geotech engineers are probably water witchers in a previous lifetime. And they said there's no water, but I don't know, I taught at the high school, and it's just, I just don't know, I'm just not sold on it yet, so.
We've been talking about this for, almost a year now?
Yeah, it's a year, right at a year.
What was the original thinking of that placement at the high school? Why was that selected as the choice?
As a cost savings, because of the infrastructure that was already there, the parking, the combined use that the school could use it, is closer to college, and it's part of that Central Park kind of sports. You've got the ball field there, and there's other fields there that kind of made this sports complex kind of feel to it. And in general, the location was designed to have multiple courts so that we could have tournaments. 6 courts. If we were just to rehabilitate the basketball court at Los Niños, we would have 2 pickleball courts just like we had at the golf course, but it would have lent itself to that. Bringing in a bunch of people and have tournaments and that kind of stuff. I mean, if we wanted to have courts to play, that's great. We can definitely design a pickleball court for the public to play. But the thought was to make it a kind of more of a, not necessarily an academic driver, but to be able to have tournaments and such like that, you'd have to have at least 6 courts. So that was the plan.
What do you think would be the timeline of choosing another space for it and or possible cost involved in that?
Well, the contractor, Randy is on. I would love to him because he can give better timeline and current cost estimates and what that might be. So, Randy, if you're there, if you want to chime in, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. There's going to be a little bit of variability. Site prep is going to be one, so we still need to do an engineering sample of the new sites that are identified. Access, elevation, slope, all of that will be determining factors and costs. Generally, a single pickleball court ranges in the realm of about $50,000 to $60,000 in costs, full construction. When you put a battery of 6 plus, that number comes down to probably about $45,000 per court. So that's kind of back of envelope math. It's still less expensive than the 4-court battery that we were looking at at the high school. But each site would have its own cost considerations to evaluate. But back of envelope, those would be budgetary numbers I could give you.
And Mayor Council, if I may, so one of the big cost savings that I think Jared was looking at was that it's already fenced and lighted. So that saves us a lot of money. I did want to ask maybe the council member and then Jared as well, as the Parks and Rec Board, do they have an opinion on this? Has this been discussed in their meetings?
just like this. It's all over the place.
Okay. So what I would ask is, you know, just, sorry, what I would ask is, maybe the council could, help us talk tonight about where you would have a preferred location. I just don't wanna see, you know, us do a lot of work for another site that might not work. So if there's something we could agree upon tonight that we could target, that would be really helpful as we move forward.
I had another.
Oh, I'm sorry.
question. That's okay. This is more toward Mr. Dust. What do we need to do to that court as it is right now to make it ready for the sport court? Because they're not doing all that site work. We would be doing that, correct? The city would be doing that?
That would be part of the contract, if the contract would do the site work.
Because their contract seems to say that they are just taking it as presented to them, and they're not making any representations about the quality of the soil or the base. So I just wanted to make sure who's responsible for that. Is it us or them?
Well, I think that was part of what the geotechnical survey addressed, was the quality of the soil and the site itself. We were gonna refer that on to the contractor if it was awarded as the information to then begin construction.
You agree with that, Bob, that the geotechnical report is making the representations that the site is satisfactory for the construction?
That's correct. So I don't know if the contractor, Randy, was gonna remove the asphalt and scarify and recompact, but that was the recommendation of the geotechnical. And I think that's your question, right?
Well, in their contract, it's under their exclusions, it says the estimate makes certain assumptions on design and components, including type of fencing, blah, blah, blah. And soils being in good condition, site grub to an initial subgrade. Cost excludes soil rehab, renovation, sidewalks, asphalt permits, blah, blah, blah. So it's not saying, and we're gonna do all this. From the way I read this, it looks like they're saying we're gonna put something on top of what you've prepared for us. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is that true or not?
If I may, in the last incarnation of this, there was the work for the slab was in that, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming that the work for the slab would be included in this. It just is not in our packet.
That would be correct. And I'll refer again to Randy. Can you address that?
Yeah, I apologize. I think I heard the question, which was, does the removal of the asphalt soil and the rehab of the asphalt and the rehab of the subsurface per the engineer's report, is that in the cost estimate that we have provided? Is that the question?
Correct.
And the answer to that was no. We were gonna do an overlay, in effect, bring in soils to go on top of the asphalt base and do an overlay of a concrete slab and leave the existing asphalt. The engineering design, Kumar, and I've worked with Kumar in the past, is their recommendation. I mentioned to Jared, they're usually conservative in their approach, but to the extent that this is going to be a sport-oriented court, the overlay would function well. I believe the city council also looked to do the soils report to understand kind of the moisture content and subgrade content to determine if the overlay was going to be sufficient or not. So the engineers came back with a conservative recommendation to remove the asphalt and do the soil prep, and that is not in the cost estimate, but would be about $2.50 a square foot to do that rehab work.
So we do have that estimate in the previous packet.
We don't have the estimate of the removal of the asphalt, because that wasn't an estimate that they'd done, because we hadn't had time to do it based on the finding of the geotechnical report. So roughly be, for what Randy said, about additional $35,000 if we were to take out the asphalt, put in the dirt, compact it, on top of what the current bid is.
I wish we had something to compare it to. I really don't. I'm feeling like I wish I had just some blank soil that someone could explain what's the difference and whether this is beneficial to us to put it on top of another court or to start all over. I can't quite just suss that out right now.
And I don't know what to tell you. That was a geotechnical. They said, and I can refer to Bob, that it was a good site. It was legit. That our concerns have been addressed, but.
Mayor, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
I think I'm maybe really missing something here. I did want to say, from the beginning, I have stated my concerns about institutional. I've said that word every time I've spoken about this. However, I believe the contractor that is on the line said if they do one court, it costs, I think they said 50,000, and then if they do several courts, the cost goes to 40,000. I think that's what they said.
45.
Oh, 45, okay. So at 6, what, you're gonna be at 235,000, right? I mean, so I don't understand if we're gonna go build at a virgin site, how we're significantly lower. And then just hypothetically, let's say we build 6 pickleball sites at a green build site, and it does come up to 235,000. And assuming one of our great parks, hypothetically, there's room, let's pretend. Is fencing a necessity?
I don't think you have to say necessarily it's a necessity, because you can play pickleball without it, but it is strongly recommended and highly encouraged, because you're gonna have balls going all over the place.
Okay, I mean, so it occurs to me, from what the people said online, a green build is gonna be cheaper than going there. We can have the benefit of being at a better location and on property we own. We'll avoid an MOU that can potentially go south on us in the future. And per Mr. Ruger's recommendations, if we could discuss location, that might short cycle all of this.
And Mayor, just to put things into perspective, I think there's 2 issues going on here. One is just a genuine concern about the location for it being the ideal location to provide that service. And then the other question is the site viable to put pickleball? I think we can put to bed with the geotech report that we can use this site if we want to, but I'm obviously hearing some concerns about the site itself. So we're happy to explore other sites. I just wouldn't want to be maybe throwing darts out. So if there's ideas you all have that you'd like to see, we'd love to hear those tonight so we can focus on those areas.
I haven't put my
I'm sorry,
comments.
Karen.
That's okay, that's okay. I'm a team player. So, every recreational site we have is shared with some public school. Central Park is the Fields, Southside Park. I don't have an issue with an MOU with the school district. I mean, I think and the college is also a partner in this. And I think utilization of a recreational asset like that, the more people we get to use it, the better. It's a quality of life issue. I like this site for a number of reasons. It's visible. I don't know if you all remember, we had a room full of pickleball players about a year ago that loved the idea of that site, and they thought it was going to be ideal. I don't like the site over by the Riverwalk. That is prone to vandalism. It's hard to get to, and I don't believe, are there public restrooms down there?
There's a restroom across the field on the far side of Los Niños. There's a little playground area with a ball toilet.
And if I remember correctly, when the old animal shelter was down there, it wasn't usable because when that field floods, the toilets aren't usable there. So, you know, I just wish we would have had these concerns sooner in the process, because how much did that geotech survey cost us?
6.2.
How many?
$6,200.
Oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. But I guess I do believe this is a good site. I think it's right, like Mr. Chatterley mentioned, it's right in the middle of our recreational area. And if you're worried about the school, you know, stop and think for the population of Trinidad High School, isn't it? It's less than maybe 150. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else? Yes.
So when from the phone calls that I've done, when I've spoken with people, I think the biggest concern, more than anything, is the cost and where the funds are coming from. I know they're capital improvement and they're great, they're easy accessible, but I think we have other problems that needs to go for, and that's what I keep being told. I think if we would have grant money for this, I think it would be amazing and there would be zero pushback. I don't think anybody would be calling, no one would have a question. GoCo grants, they won't cover that. So, but isn't it considered outdoor recreation?
Not in that form, where they've stepped away. GoCo has very much transformed their funding initiatives that we pursue, and like tennis courts, pickleball courts, things like that, and now we're going to approve it.
Ms. Navarrette's gonna give us some information on it.
I just wanted to let council know that 50% of that funding is marijuana funding. It was allocated 2 years ago, so we're sitting on funding that we're not spending, so just FYI, 50% of it is marijuana.
You always say you like interest, though.
Excuse me?
You always say you like interest.
Interest on the fund.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's nice. It's correct.
Thank you. Anybody else comment?
Is there a local league that has identified itself that says we can use this, we're ready to go?
Very much so. They are, yeah. They're very excited about whether it be there anywhere, that the desire to have pickleball courts in town is there.
How many, if I may.
Sure.
What was the plan for tournaments? I mean, because you would have to have restroom facility and everything for tournaments, so what was the plan for that?
We would rent porta potties if it was a big enough tournament where we needed that additional bit of a full-on event that would have, you know, parking concerns and traffic concerns and parking concerns.
The last observation I have, while we have MOUs, their MOUs, we have, say for instance, the baseball field, we own that and other entities use it, and it still leads to a lot of friction. I mean, the baseball field has, you know, the high school, the triggers, and the college, and it's problematic. I think it'd be best for us to avoid it and put it where we own it. That's my final entry into this, which has been from the beginning, I'd say.
Further comments? Call for the motion, consideration of approval of bid results for project number 14-2023, Trinidad Pickleball Court construction. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Council.
Item 8F, consideration of removal of Main and Anima Street intersection from the scope of work from the City of Trinidad pedestrian signal upgrade project.
Yep, this is Mr. Justice.
So this project's been going on for a couple of years. We got a grant from CDOT for $100 grand to do audible signals. SCH was the consultant that was accepted, and they started design, and they found out that this corner right here at Animison, Main, southeast corner, Mr. Garlitzel's lot, one of our poles is sitting on his property. They want $19,000 to bring down another surveyor and procure that easement or procure that property. And staff thinks it's not, they're basically getting on pocketbook in short words. What we would like to do, since we have the design on Main Street right now with SGM, from basically the Bell Block up to the Santa Fe Trail, we can basically move that signal pole when that design is done and pull this particular intersection out of their project scope. They're still gonna do the other three, which are, just basically go on down the Main Street. You got Maple, Oak, and which one am I missing? Oh, Commercial. So, anyway, they're gonna do those. So that's what we come to you to. It's basically, we need a resolution from council as we'd be pulling this from the project scope. Questions?
Questions?
I don't have a question so much as a comment, and I think it's important that it's in the public record. Like attending the TPR basically 2 weeks ago. CDOT discussed this at the TPR, and at the time I was unaware of it. So I did come back and discuss with Mr. Ruger about staff's involvement with the TPR. I think that's going to be a great leveraging effect going forward to have an elected official and a city staff person present for the TPR. And I'm hoping it would be you, Bob. CDOT recognizes it as fitting within the means of the project and understands the justification. So I don't have any questions about it. Just hopefully we can easily work together going forward with TPR like that. So I don't have any questions. I think it's a good way to dodge that extra money, and I think a dollar saved is a dollar, and so that's good.
Any further comments? Mr. Yes.
Is this the audible signal?
It is.
Okay.
It's part of our EDA compliance.
So if we take that out, there will be no audible signals at that corner?
For now.
For now.
Okay.
Once we get the design done on Main Street, and hopefully we find another grant, we'll procure, it'll be done at that time.
If we are putting it off, because we're under some compulsion that we have to fix ADA situations around the city, does this put us in give us any problem by putting this off for a while?
I don't anticipate you.
Mayor, Council, no, we are in constant communication now with our ADA coordinators. We have a timeline. The biggest thing they're focusing on is curb cuts, or curb ramps, sorry. So I don't think this is gonna put us in jeopardy, but it is very important. I did wanna mention, I think the design goes all the way from I-25, right, to the Bell Block? Or is it just?
It's from the intersection of
Santa
Fe Trail.
But yeah, I think this is a good savings for us, but no, I don't see any unintended consequences with our ADA orders.
Thank you, that's all I had.
I have no questions. Call for the motion, consideration of removal of Main and Anima Street intersection from the scope of work from the City of Trinidad pedestrian signal upgrade project. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second? Call the vote.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Trio?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
DeBono?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Did you say?
There you go.
That just flew right out.
I was gonna say yes. 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 Thank you, Mr. Item 8G, resolution in opposition to a change to the southeast and south central transportation planning region boundaries. Is that you, Mr. Williamson?
Thank you. First off, I wanted to tell Audra, thank you for all of the effort that was put into in writing that resolution. We discussed this some, or actually quite a bit, at the special work session that we did have, so I'll make this brief. So, there's an effort to split a mountain TPR, that's Transportation Planning Region, and the mountain district will be split in two, that's up north. And then they want to combine the South Central, which is us, and Southeast, which is the 5 counties to the east of us, to the Kansas line. What that's gonna do is it's gonna marginalize our interest and expand northern interests. And, you know, collectively, we've made a lot of great observations of how that's wrong. But in the end, it will be our residents that I think suffer, because it will lessen our control for CDOT spending in our region, and increase the northern control for spending in their region. And it's important to note the South Central and the Southeast are 2 vastly different areas. They're 2 geographically huge areas. I think it's unwise to combine the 2, and so with the county of Los Animas County and the county of Warfano County, along with Walsenburg and every other town in the South Central, we really need to stand together and stand against this. So I would just urge a yes vote on this.
Comments?
No, I have none, I agree with you. We should say the resolution, yes.
I listened in via Zoom to that meeting, and the other members of the TPR adamantly opposed. I don't remember what member was, but said he's gonna hire an attorney to fight it.
Oh, Commissioner DeLucia.
Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Call for the vote for the approval of the resolution. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Mayor Rico.
Touche.
Motion to approve the resolution.
I would make a motion to accept or vote on the resolution adopting a policy or to oppose the change to the Southeast and South Central Transportation Planning Region boundaries.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Heavy on the Griego. Item 8H, resolution adopting a policy for the issuance of proclamations.
And Mayor and Council, I'm happy to talk about this one, and I want to thank Audra for her work in kind of researching and putting this together. This is something I've asked staff to put together to present to you. I'd really like to see us get a little bit more formal in how we handle proclamations and go through that process. So what you see before you tonight is an attempt to do that. So this kind of specifies the appropriateness of proclamations and how they're introduced and how they come about and how we'll manage that process. So certainly I or Audra can answer any questions that you have on the resolution.
Questions, comments?
I don't have any questions, I think it was well done.
Yeah, Audra did a good job.
As usual, really good job. This is nice because in addition to having a paper trail on this, it also helps Audra a little bit, but because the person that's asking for the proclamation has to list the reasons why they're requesting the proclamation. So may I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, Councilman Shu?
Yes.
Call the vote.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 8I, consideration of award of bid to Pineview Nursery and Landscaping Incorporated for project number 03-24 2024 river CFS habitat and vegetation improvements. Hi, Ms. Wolf, how are
Hi,
you?
good evening, everyone.
You're on.
So we went out to bid for continued work on the river. And by the way, CFS means cubic feet per second in the title. Received 2 bids, the lower bid and the most highly qualified is Pineview. They're the ones who've been doing the work that we started a year ago, which was funded by a Safer Street Grant, GoCo, and the City of Trinidad. So the line item for this is called Riverwalk improvements, but we've been also using it for areas next to the Riverwalk. So we started with invasive species. Now we're lowering areas to deal with the sediment buildup that's happened over decades. And then we've been thinning, we're doing fuels mitigation. The thinning helps with safety, the fuels mitigation, reduces our chance of fire. So we're trying to hit a lot of different things. And then if you've been in the Boulevard Edition, we've done a lot of work in there, but we are not nearly finished, so don't get scared about all the trees that are gone. It's healthier for the healthy trees, and we still have a lot of cleanup to do in there, finessing the soil, fixing the trails, and then revegetation. So, and you can see from the maps that this goes through town.
I had a couple questions. What does bank full mean?
So, first of all, this is a project that's not just me. Gil Ramirez, who manages our watershed, has noticed that over time we have sediment buildup, and it tends to channelize the river, makes it really straight. So we end up building up speed, and there isn't anywhere for this excess water to go, and so it causes problems downstream, it erodes the bank. So by lowering the river and all this extra sediment down to bank full, we give that extra flow a place to go instead of just continuing to ruin these stretches of straight river.
That's really important to understand that.
So, and bank full is where the natural height of the river is, where the gravel is. So we're removing soil down to bank full, which is where we see that gravel.
And then I noticed that in here, I guess in the scope of work, you talk about the work is going to be conducted near publicly used trails and park sites, which may result in verbal contact with community members and possibly interacting with homeless populations. Are we expecting our contractor to do that?
So the contractor we've had, Pineview, has done an exceptional job, in my opinion, of dealing with the homeless. So that we don't have to call the police, to have them communicate with them. There's so many camps along the river in all the areas where we've been working. There were only issues in the very beginning back in April where some people threw some rocks at some of the machinery, but since then, the people that they've interacted with, the homeless, they seem to have accepted our presence in this machinery work. And so one of the contractor's workers who's running a machine in the boulevard, he just talks to them, and then he lets them know what we're doing and lets them know that, I need to clear around your camp and you might want to move it, or I'm going to do the best I can to not bother your things. So they've even pulled up from some of the tent spaces they've been in. And then our contractor has cleaned up those sites.
Thank you.
So it's worked out.
Ma'am, so the project that you're working on, how much does that coincide with the Greenway?
It's actually effective preliminary work because we're removing invasive species. We're dealing with how the banks have worked for the last few decades. So we're doing preparation work that will benefit the plans and the work that's going to happen in the future. Did that answer your question?
Darren, where did you get the funding for the first part of this project? Through grants, or have we sponsored that?
Grants. So there was a line item that Cheryl brought to my attention last year that wasn't being used and had been in place for a couple of years called Riverwalk Improvements.
Mhm.
But before that, the grant that I've been managing with Purgatory Watershed Partnership for over 4 years now included stewardship. And that stewardship included improvements to our river habitat, to recreation, et cetera. So I handled all the on the ground work with Youth Corps. But we also had a little bit of money in that. It was $286,000. We had about 30 of that to go directly to a contractor, not the Youth Corps. And then with Talitha's help, we wrote Safer Streets grant to the State Department of Criminal Justice. And that was for safety, which is why we were tackling visibility, fuels, things like that. So that contributed another about 30,000 to the contractor, and then we used the Riverwalk improvements. Some of the Riverwalk improvements was for the lighting, and then there was still extra funding. And I said, I'll spend it.
I like that. So, what you're asking for is, for this, do we have any, are we gonna get any grants or anything to cover some of this 150,000?
We are looking at another round with the GoCo stewardship grant, but for now, this is a way to keep moving with what we're doing. So not yet.
So, have we talked to Cheryl about money available?
Yes,
And is there?
that's what you're approving tonight. We're not approving it tonight. Or Cheryl.
Cheryl?
Yes, there's 800,000 budgeted in Riverwalk improvements. 600,000 is for the Riverwalk design, and the remainder is for Karen to spend.
And Mayor Council, just so you know, we competitively bid out our design services for our river visioning project. And that bid came in at about $600,000, as you know, because you approved that. But Cheryl's right, we had originally contemplated 800. So that savings is allowing Karen to do, by the way, some outstanding work. The river, since I got here, it looks so much better, and that's by and large thanks to Karen and her efforts.
That's all, Karen, thank you, appreciate it. Good job.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's maintenance, and I think we need it if we want to keep people going down there. We gotta keep it clear and clean. I think it's a great idea and a great use of the funds.
What did you spend those funds on?
What have we spent it on so far?
Extra funds.
I mean, so far,
So
not yet.
far.
Yeah, so the thinning that's been going on in the Boulevard Addition, as well as removing the invasive species. So we actually started that 10 years ago, right after we bought the property. In fact, I was even in the planning department and helped write the GoCo grant to purchase the land in the Boulevard. Then I've had multiple contractors in there dealing with the weeds and the invasive species. So if you were in there 10 years ago, there were huge Russian olives. But the Russian olives, keep growing, so we got some of the bigger ones out. More research has been done on the best way to deal with Russian olives. That's the main invasive species that's in the boulevard and along the river, all the way down to Kit Carson bypass. So we've been spending money on Russian olive mitigation. I actually go in there with the Youth Corps and with our contractor and apply chemical to the cuts as they cut the trees down.
And that kills all the.
Yep, it goes into the roots and then kills those. And then when Gil got involved, and Gil's been involved back then too, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, et cetera. But then with the bankful efforts that the city started under Commercial Street, we wanted to keep that going, so we're going upstream.
Gotcha.
And because my additional experience, I said, let's get the invasives out first, and then drop the bank, and then go from there with riverbank restoration, habitat maintenance, and then revegetation. So our money's been going to all those things.
First off, thank you so much for what you are doing. It's a really great improvement, and I'm anxious to see the final or semi-pseudo final results. I did have a couple of questions. You did say we got 2 bids, right?
Mhm.
And we're going with the better qualified, not necessarily the low bid. That's my understanding.
He's both,
Oh, low and better qualified.
yes.
Okay, I misunderstood that then. Thank you. And I have a little experience with this, which probably makes this line of questioning maybe potentially less valid in some ways. I do know though that there's regulations, I think both state and federal, when you are talking about equipment in riparian areas and active flow channels. My question is how do we vet that that this agency or the contractor doing that is fully meeting those requirements?
So they are familiar with Army Corps of Engineers permitting, the 404 permitting, they're familiar with how their machine should be set up with oil, drip pans, protective pans, when to cross the river, things like that. And that's one of the reasons that I added references and experience to this whole extensive,
Right.
bid process.
And obviously, I really appreciate your answer. And obviously, all those extra measures cost extra as well. So I mean, that's reflected in the work somewhat.
He's Pineview set up to do that already.
Okay.
They've done it on the Trinchera and Tercio ranches, and then also in the Kremling area in a huge ranch owned by Jones.
Okay.
So he's been doing all of these 10 things already and has an understanding of protecting the habitat
Right.
in which he has his machinery.
The other question I had, you've already alluded to really, and that is, I just wanted to ask how we are involved with the Army Corps of Engineers and also any potentially affected irrigation ditch companies that we may affect.
So the Purgatory Watershed Partnership is already working with the irrigation ditches down at the diversion dam right by the new Hilton. And then at the dog park, there's the Chiloli ditch. So, and we're prepared to deal with those owners. I already know Verkers and the Chiloli ditch people, and I'm familiar with their maintenance agreement. So that's just a matter of contacting them and the property owner that's right up near the dog park and making sure that any adjacent owner or water user knows what we're doing and gives us permission to be in there.
All right. Well, my main takeaway is thank you so much for what you're doing.
Those are excellent questions.
No questions, just a comment. I don't know about invasive species, but it just looks great down there. I mean, it looks manicured. It looks like it's got a little TLC going on down there, so I appreciate the work that you've done. Thank you.
And you're always welcome to ask me questions, so I'm not as prickly as
That's not what I heard. I need a motion to accept the award of the bid of Pineview Nursery and Landscaping for project number OC-24 River CFS Habitat.
So moved.
I wasn't finished.
My apologies.
No, I'm just kidding.
Second.
Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 9, council reports. Mr. Williamson.
So I attended a TPR meeting several weeks ago. I think tonight we addressed what I would say is probably the most pressing concern with that, and that's the combining of the South Central and Southeast TPRs. It's something that I really hope can be avoided. Also, spoke to Mr. Ruger. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition having staff there. We did get some, I wanted to make special note of this, Mr. Ruger. We did get really glowing commendation by CDOT staff for particularly the gas company's, the gas department's involvement with an incident that happened at the rest stop out north. They couldn't have spoke more highly of the gas department, their professionalism, and response to that situation, so I did want to pass on that. Also, I wanted to mention that the South Central Council of Governments is moving forward with administering the services at the Henry Sayers Senior Center. I think that's going to be just a phenomenal thing for the elders in our community, and we'll look forward to more announcements from that. And lastly, we at the South Central Council of Governments have selected Brian Blasey as the finalist for the executive director position. We're hoping that brings a real sense of stability, being that he's younger and local to the area and has expressed real interest in running that agency and being here for the near term. I mean, we've seen a lot of change in that position, and I think this will be a move in the right direction there. That is my report.
We're going through, I guess, elections to have 2 vacancies filled, so I guess we won't find out anything different until the 20th of this month is when Parks and Rec is. Right now, we're just in our holding pattern.
Nothing really to report, but just like a comment on this weekend's festivities were phenomenal. I got a lot of calls from people loving the projections of the art downtown. They thought that was cool. One suggestion that they had asked that if we can do future and keep doing these, and featuring historical artists. Maybe like Monet, Van Gogh, all this to kind of, so that's where they can coincide, with a little bit of education. And I said I'll mention it. I think it'd be a great idea, and it'll be a great utilization of our investment. So, but yeah, it was wonderful. I got to go down there. Fortunately, I was right on the in between, so I didn't get to see everything going on, but I got to see everything going out. But it looked phenomenal. And I just want to thank everyone that did all the hard work to put all that together. I did watch the Facebook Lives. Those were fantastic. Yeah, I really, it kind of sucks when you have to make a living, and then it's like you really want to go to these things, and it's like, choices, So thank you to everyone that put that on, and the community really does appreciate it. Thank you.
Going on have the report on the thank you.
I have nothing tonight.
Arts and Culture meets on Thursday tomorrow, or 2 days from now, so I'll go to that. But yeah, I just would echo what Mr. Trujillo said. It was amazing, and it was great that it happened this time of year, because I think we all just kind of, nothing happens January, February, and it showed what could happen here, and that was exciting, and it was good to see how the private enterprise jumped in and we did an art walk with it, and it was a lot of fun, and I hope you can do this.
I received a letter as a resignation by Kalita Sheldrick. She is resigning from the Main Street Board, just an FYI. Also, thank you to staff, and I don't like to name names because I will always forget someone's name, but talking about the Winterfest, that's an example of what a private government partnership, city-private partnership can do. And there's a couple of people in staff and a couple of people private citizens that work their tail off, and I know Mr. Ruger was there making sure everybody behaved themselves. Thank you to everybody, I really appreciate that. Item 10, reports by city manager and city attorney, Mr. Ruger.
Yeah, Mayor Council, just a couple things. So I'll start with the projectors because that was one of my items. So thank you to the Lodging Tax Advisory Board for recommending that we actually purchase these projectors. In my opinion, it's a very big win for our community. A couple things that I wanted to highlight on that is Brett Faris, our contractor, said we are the first municipality to actually invest in the technology.
Wow.
And I think that's a very bold move for us, and I'm very optimistic based on what I saw this weekend that we can continue doing these and make it something that's great for our community. But a couple things I wanted to highlight for you all. I'm working with Jess over at the library. We'd like to take at least a couple of the projectors and make them available for the public to check out so they can learn how to do this type of artwork and get creative with them. They're certainly not appropriate to check out for Super Bowl Sunday, but I guess they could be. But one of the things, and I appreciate Councilmember Trujillo bringing it up, one of the things that we would like to see as well is our community be involved in the artwork that gets displayed. In fact, Brett Forrest did a debrief on Sunday at 2 p.m. that I attended, and we invited any local artists who wanted to come be part of that, and he explained the technology, how the digital images are created, and I was actually blown away. There's a lot more to it than just putting a movie onto a projector and showing it at a building. There's software that manipulates still images to make them animated, there's color adjustments, all that stuff. So the creativity is really there behind the scenes, and I'd love to see some of our youth, some of our college students get excited about it. Ancillary to that though, since we do own now 10 projectors, there's a huge benefit in other things. We can consider movies in the park perhaps this summer for youth and family activities. Jokingly, but maybe not so much jokingly, a group of staff have been talking about if the fire chief says it's too dry to do fireworks, well, we could do a robust laser projector fireworks show instead and have that as an option. And then I've also been approached by a gentleman who works at the college who is apparently, he's won awards nationally for producing film festivals, and he would like to do a film festival here in October. I don't know what the film festival would look like, but what an awesome thing to say, well, we've got projectors, what do you need? So I think it's gonna be a win for us. A group of us here on staff would really like to see pops of light and color throughout our community for a lot of reasons. One, it's attractive on I-25 when you're driving by and people might say, what's going on there? We should go take a look. But two, I think the general feeling is just very nice. If you've ever looked at Tin Can Alley, not Tin Can Alley, but Neon Alley in Pueblo, if you haven't checked that out, it's worth going to. A lawyer up there, Les knows about lawyers. Aaron knows about it. Right? He got in, apparently law was too busy for him, so he decided to restore old neon lights. And so he's commandeered a bunch of them and put them up in this one consolidated area, and it looks amazing. In fact, they have one of our neon signs from a bar called the Aladdin, apparently, that I want to go get back at some point. So I've also asked staff to be mindful of preserving when they see something, we should preserve our historic neon. That's a part of our community. So I just wanted to point that out. Obviously, we're not going to shine a big spotlight on the entirety of the city, but I am encouraged by Councilmember Shu. I think you had made a comment about Simpson's Rest being lighted up back in the day, and that sounds like an awesome idea. So I'd love to see if we can explore rehabilitating that as well. So all positive. I was very happy with the events this weekend, and everything seemed to go very well. There were a couple of mishaps to be expected, but we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep pushing forward on this, and at this point, we more than welcome feedback from the community on what they'd like to see and how we can use this technology to really showcase Trinidad. And the last thing I'll say on that is, this is something for our residents, certainly our visitors. We want them to enjoy it as well, but this is absolutely something that we're putting together for our community so that we can show them we do care, we hear you, we want to provide events and fun things for you to come do. I'm excited for 2024. There's going to be so much good and positive things for our residents and our visitors to attend and do. And then the last thing I wanted to say is I've been talking with Ed Griego about Tura, and we're coming up with some really interesting ideas on how we can utilize Tura more effectively. So just to give you one example, the Opera House that needs to be stabilized, the developer unfortunately doesn't have the money right now to rehabilitate the entire building, but it might be a good opportunity for Tura to do some semblance of a loan in exchange for a lien on the building, or maybe a concession to the city where the public gets a benefit on the final development. And I love those ideas. I think we're very lucky to have Tura, and I think it's really important that we utilize them to our fullest extent possible. So I'll be in conversations with them. Certainly you're welcome to talk to any of the Tura members as well. But eventually I'd like to do a joint work session so we can strategically plan how we work more in tandem with their ideas and resources and meld that with what we're doing. So those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricker. Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I just want to mention all of you, I don't know how many of you get the CML emails, the updates, but there's a lot of discussion of pending legislation in those CML updates. And there is a lot of kind of concerning legislation, I would say, pending. Nothing is not scandalous, but is impactful as some of the wrong word, but nothing as impactful as some of the legislation that we saw last year. But there are still a number of things, like House Bill 24-1007, which would prohibit occupancy limits based on anything other than square footage per person. There also are, and this has not been assigned a number yet, but accessory dwelling units as a use by right. I think that would be kind of nightmarish. But anyway, I don't mean to editorialize on the proposed legislation. I bring that to your attention because you may want to have like a legislative update from Mike Beasley. I don't know if Steve has been speaking to him, but just so that we can, and of course we always have CML to take, the collective municipal position on legislation, but you may want to have your opinion known as well on some of the pending legislation. And so it being, still relatively early in this legislative session, you may want to be able to get, in front of some of these things to talk about them and take a position if you're so inclined. But that's the only thing I want to
Okay. Item 11, executive session. Item 11A, for the purpose of determining positions relevant to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing a strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-42-4E, housing development, and 11B, for a conference with the city's attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24-6-4024B, special events. Motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that enough? And
How about if we say
we'll convene at
7:45?
7.